The massive battleship U.S. Devastator shuddered as it tore through space. Red warning lights flashed across every deck. In the command center, Captain David Cole gripped his chair tightly as the experimental faster-than-light drive pushed the ship beyond known space. "Engine status," Cole shouted over the rumbling. Chief Engineer Robert Hayes typed frantically at his console. "The new drive is stable, sir, but something's wrong. These readings don't match our test calculations." A bright flash filled the bridge windows. The shaking stopped suddenly, leaving an eerie quiet. The Devastator had emerged in unknown space, surrounded by stars that matched no known star charts. "Location unknown, Captain," reported Lieutenant Emma Foster from the navigation station. Her fingers flew over the controls as she tried to get their bearings. "None of these star patterns match our database." Before Cole could respond, radar operator Steve Miller called out, "Multiple contacts. Large ships approaching from all directions." The bridge crew watched in amazement as strange vessels appeared around them. They were massive, shaped like curved daggers, with glowing purple engines. The alien ships moved to surround the Devastator in a tight circle. "Weapons locked on us from all directions, sir," Rachel Wilson reported from the weapons station. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. A harsh voice boomed through the ship's speakers in broken English. "Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted Zith-Ari Empire space. Your primitive ship is now property of the Empire. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Cole stood from his chair. "Open a channel," he ordered. "This is Captain David Cole of the Earth ship U.S. Devastator. We mean no harm and arrived here by accident. We request peaceful." The alien voice cut him off. "Silence. Humans are a known primitive species. You will submit to inspection and processing. Your crew will join other lesser species in proper service to the Empire." Lieutenant Foster's face went pale as she looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions between their ships. They're slave traders. The Zith-Ari Empire captures and enslaves species they consider inferior." Cole's jaw tightened. "Like hell they will. Battle stations, shields at maximum." The crew jumped into action as alarms blared. The alien ships fired strange purple beams that splashed harmlessly against the Devastator's shields. "Their weapons are similar to electromagnetic pulse technology," Chief Hayes called out. "But our new shields are holding." First Officer Lisa Martinez studied the tactical display. "Sir, their formation has a weak spot. They didn't expect us to resist." "Show them their mistake," Cole ordered. "Weapons free, Lieutenant Wilson. Target their engines, and weapons only." The Devastator's advanced railguns roared to life, spitting depleted uranium shells at speeds that shocked the alien vessels. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, provided little protection against physical projectiles. Two enemy ships spun away, their engines destroyed. "They're sending panicked messages to their fleet," reported Intelligence Officer Brian Parker. "They're calling us demons. They've never seen weapons like ours." The alien ships scrambled to regroup, but the Devastator was already moving. Under Martinez's guidance, the human ship sliced through their formation with a grace that seemed impossible for its size. Wilson's precise shooting disabled 5 more ships without destroying them. "Message from their commander," Parker announced. They're retreating." The remaining alien ships fled, leaving their damaged companions behind. The bridge crew cheered, but Cole raised his hand for silence. "Begin rescue operations for any crew on those disabled ships," he ordered, "and scan the area. If these Zith-Ari are slavers, there might be prisoners nearby who need help." Foster worked at her station, then gasped. "Captain, I'm picking up thousands of distress signals. There's a slave processing station just 2 light years from here." Cole looked at his crew. They were supposed to return home after testing the new drive, but he could see in their eyes that they'd all reached the same decision. "Plot a course, Lieutenant Foster," he said firmly. "The Zith-Ari Empire just learned that humans aren't primitive. Now they're going to learn we don't tolerate slavery either. As the Devastator moved deeper into Empire space, none of the crew knew they had just started a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. The nightmare for slave empires had only begun, and humanity's first battleship would be their wake-up call. 2 hours after their first battle, the U.S. Devastator moved carefully through enemy space. The massive human battleship's sensors were at full power, watching for more Zithari ships. On the bridge, the crew worked quietly at their stations. 3 enemy warships detected ahead. Steve Miller announced from his radar station, "Much bigger than the ones we fought before." Captain Cole studied the tactical screen. These new ships were twice the size of the Devastator, shaped like giant spears with glowing purple sections along their sides. "They're broadcasting, sir," said Intelligence Officer Parker. "The Zithari are ordering all ships in the sector to attack us. They're calling us the Demon Ship." First Officer Martinez smiled. "Seems we hurt their pride, Captain." Before Cole could respond, Chief Engineer Hayes rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, I've figured out how their weapons work. They use electromagnetic pulses to shut down enemy ships. It's actually pretty simple technology compared to ours." "Simple?" Lieutenant Wilson asked from her weapons station. "Those purple beams looked pretty advanced to me." Hayes shook his head. "It's all show. They're used to fighting enemies with basic electrical systems. Our shielding is way beyond anything they've seen. No wonder they think less advanced species are primitive. They've never needed to improve their weapons." Suddenly, the enemy ships opened fire. Huge purple beams, bigger than before, struck the Devastator. The lights flickered, but the ship stayed strong. "Shields holding at 92%, reported Martinez. "They really don't understand our technology." Cole stood up. "Let's show them some real firepower. Lieutenant Wilson, target their weapon systems. Lieutenant Foster, bring us in close." "They won't expect that." The Devastator surged forward, diving straight at the enemy ships. The Zithari commanders were shocked. No ship had ever dared to get so close to their mighty warships. "They're panicking," Parker reported, listening to enemy communications. "Their commanders can't believe we're not disabled yet." Wilson's hands flew over her weapons console. The Devastator's railguns fired with perfect accuracy. Solid metal shells tore through the enemy ship's shields like they weren't even there. Purple energy weapons exploded as the human shells hit them. "Direct hits on all targets," Wilson called out. "Their main weapons are down." But the Zithari weren't done. Small fighter ships poured out of the larger vessels, hundreds of them swarming toward the Devastator. "Point defense systems online," Wilson reported calmly. The human ship's smaller guns came to life, filling space with a web of bullets. Alien fighters exploded left and right, unable to get through the steel storm. "Message from the lead enemy ship," Parker said. They're asking how we do this. They want to know what magic powers our weapons." Cole laughed. "No magic, just human engineering and good old-fashioned bullets." He turned to Hayes. "Chief, why don't we show them our new toy?" Hayes grinned and moved to a special control panel. "Antimatter torpedo ready, sir, just like we tested back home." Fire. A small missile shot from the Devastator. It looked tiny compared to the huge alien energy weapons. The Zithari didn't even try to stop it. That was their last mistake. The torpedo hit the lead ship's engine section. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a miniature sun seemed to appear as matter and antimatter met. When the flash faded, half the alien ship was simply gone. "By all the stars," Foster whispered. The other enemy ships immediately turned and fled, leaving their fighters behind. "The remaining fighters are powering down their weapons," Martins reported. "They're surrendering, sir." Cole nodded. "Begin rescue operations, and download everything you can from their computers. We need to know more about what we're dealing with." Hours later, Cole stood in the ship's main meeting room with his senior officers. The captured Zithari data was displayed on large screens around them. "It's worse than we thought," Parker reported. The Empire controls thousands of star systems. They've enslaved dozens of species, all because they think their energy weapons make them superior. Not anymore, said Martinez. Now they've met humans. Cole looked at the map of Zitheri space. Set course for that slave station. I think it's time to make some new friends. He turned to his crew. The Zitheri think they're facing one demon ship. Wait until they learn Earth has an entire fleet of them. As the Devastator moved deeper into enemy territory, news of the unstoppable human ship spread through the Empire. The nightmare was growing stronger, and the galaxy's greatest slave empire was about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. The U.S. Devastator hid behind a large moon, its dark hull blending with the shadows. Inside, Intelligence Officer Brian Parker sat at his station, listening to hundreds of alien communications. His eyes grew wider with each message he heard. "Captain, you need to hear this," Parker called out. "The whole Empire is talking about us. Every ship, every station. They're all scared of the demon ship that can't be stopped." Captain Cole walked over to Parker's station. The screen showed messages flying between thousands of alien ships and bases. Some were in strange alien languages, but many had already been translated by the ship's computers. The primitive humans have weapons that pass through our shields. Their ships survive the strongest electromagnetic pulse cannons. They turn our fighters into dust with small metal pieces. Lieutenant Foster worked at her station, marking each place the messages came from on a star map. "The news is spreading faster than we thought, sir. Even alien species that aren't part of the Empire are hearing about us." "Good," said Cole. "Fear can be a powerful weapon. The more they worry about us, the less they'll hurt their slaves." Suddenly, a different kind of message caught Parker's attention. "Captain, I'm picking up coded transmissions. They're from the slaves themselves." The crew gathered around as Parker decoded the messages. They were simple and short, sent in secret from slave camps and mines across the Empire. "The humans freed our brothers. Their ship fights for the weak. Hope is coming." First Officer Martinez studied the messages. "The slaves are starting to rebel, sir. Just knowing we exist is giving them courage." Before Cole could respond, Chief Hayes rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, I finished studying their computer systems. The Zithari aren't as advanced as they pretend to be. They stole most of their technology from species they enslaved." "That explains a lot," said Wilson from her weapons station. "They never developed better weapons because they just took what others made." A loud alarm suddenly cut through the bridge. Multiple ships approaching. Miller called out, "It's a slave transport convoy. 5 big ships with fighter escorts." Cole smiled. "Perfect timing. Lieutenant Wilson, prepare the main guns. Let's show these slavers what happens when they enter our hunting grounds." The Devastator powered up, rising from the moon's shadow like a shark rising to strike. The alien convoy spotted them too late. "Enemy ships are trying to run," Martins reported. "The slave transports are heading in different directions." "Oh no you don't," Cole said firmly. "Wilson, disable their engines. Foster, plot intercept courses. No slave ship escapes today." The Devastator moved with amazing speed for such a large ship. Wilson's shots were perfect, taking out the engines on all 5 transports without hurting the cargo areas where the slaves were kept. The fighter escorts fled as soon as they saw the human ship. "Boarding teams ready," reported Security Chief Daniel Martinez. "We've got enough space in our cargo holds for all the slaves." Over the next few hours, the human crew freed over 3,000 slaves from 15 different species. Many were crying with joy. Some had been slaves their whole lives. An old alien with blue skin and 4 arms approached Cole. "I am Zixtal," he said in broken English. "My people were first race enslaved by Zitheri 300 years ago. We waited so long for someone to help. Now humans come, with strange but powerful ways of fighting." Cole shook the alien's hand carefully. "The waiting is over, but we need your help. Tell us everything you know about the Empire." Later, Cole met with his officers again. The freed slaves had shared vital information about the Empire's weaknesses. The Zithari rely too much on their stolen technology, Hayes explained. They don't even understand how most of it works anymore. That's why they can't figure out how to stop our weapons. Parker added, and the slaves are starting to fight back. Small rebellions are breaking out everywhere. The Empire has never faced anything like this. Cole looked at the map, now marked with hundreds of slave camps and bases. Send a message to all frequencies, he ordered. Tell every slave in the Empire, humanity has arrived. Freedom is coming. The nightmare isn't ours, it's the Empire's. The message went out in every language they knew. As it spread, slaves everywhere began to whisper about the unstoppable human ship that fought for freedom. The Zithari Empire's nightmare was growing stronger, and their perfect slave empire was starting to crack. The massive slave trading station hung in space like an evil spider. It was 3 times bigger than the U.S. Devastator, with hundreds of docking ports where slave ships came and went. Inside were thousands of beings waiting to be sold. That's the biggest slave station in this sector, said Zixtel, their new alien friend. The Zithari call it the processing hub. Many of us were sold here. Captain Cole studied the station through the bridge windows. Then it's time we shut it down. Weapons Specialist Wilson, what's the best way to attack? Wilson had been working on this problem for hours. Sir, we can't just blow it up. There are too many slaves inside. We need to board it. Marine Commander Jack Stevens stepped forward. He was a tall, strong man who led the ship's fighting troops. My teams are ready, sir. But that station is huge. We'll need a new plan to take it. I think I have one, Wilson said. She pointed to her screen. The Zithari use energy shields, right? But their internal doors are just metal. Our new cutting tools can go right through them. Stevens nodded slowly. And they won't expect us to enter through the walls. They'll guard the docking ports, but we can make our own doors anywhere we want. Cole turned to Chief Hayes. Can you shut down their internal security? Already working on it, Hayes said with a smile. Their systems are old and poorly maintained. Give me 10 minutes. The plan came together quickly. The Devastator would create a distraction while small teams entered the station through its outer walls. Hayes would disable their security, and Stevens' Marines would free the slave section by section. One more thing, Wilson added. I modified our stun grenades. They now work perfectly on Zithari biology. We can take the station without killing anyone. Cole smiled. Perfect. Let's show them how humans fight when we want to save lives, not take them. The attack began an hour later. The Devastator appeared suddenly, guns blazing at the station's outer defenses. As guard ships rushed to fight the human battleship, small craft carried Stevens' Marines to the station's walls. Cutting charges set, Stevens reported over the radio. Beginning breach in 3, 2, 1. Special explosives cut perfect circles in the station's walls. Marines in spacesuits flew through the holes, entering the station from 10 different points. Inside, they found confusion and chaos. Security systems are down, Hayes reported happily. They're blind and deaf in there. The Marines moved fast. They threw Wilson's modified stun grenades into guard posts. Zithari soldiers fell unconscious instantly. Other teams cut through internal walls, bypassing defended doors completely. This is too easy, Stevens radioed as his team freed another group of slaves. They never thought anyone would dare attack them here. More Marines arrived through the breach points. They gave simple instructions to the freed slaves. Follow the markers. Human soldiers will guide you to safety. Lieutenant Foster's voice came over the radio. 6 enemy ships approaching. Big ones. Right on schedule, Cole replied calmly. Wilson, show them our new trick. The Devastator fired its railguns, but this time the shells burst apart near the enemy ships. Thousands of tiny metal pieces spread out like a shotgun blast in space. The enemy shields couldn't stop such small objects. Their weapons and engines were shredded. All enemy ships disabled. Wilson reported. No casualties. Inside the station, Stevens' teams reached the main control room. They found the Zithari commanders trying to delete their files. Don't bother, Stevens told them as they surrendered. We already have copies of everything. The liberation took just 3 hours. Over 10,000 slaves were freed. The Devastator's cargo holds were filled with people from dozens of species, all celebrating their freedom. I've never seen anything like this, Zixtel said, watching the freed slaves board the human ship. The Zithari thought their station was perfectly safe. But you humans, you think differently. You find new ways to fight. Cole watched as the last slaves were brought aboard. We've had a lot of practice thinking outside the box, he said. Tell your people to spread the word. This is just the beginning. As the Devastator moved away, they left the station dead in space. Its doors hung open like a broken jail. The ship's communication officer sent one last message to the station's computers, set to play on endless repeat. This station is closed. The age of slavery is over. Humanity has arrived. The message would play for months, reminding everyone who passed that the galaxy's greatest slave empire was no longer safe anywhere. The nightmare for the Zithari was growing stronger with each passing day. The U.S. Devastator's main meeting room was crowded with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had scales, others fur. Some had many arms, others had wings. But they all shared one thing. They had been slaves until the humans freed them. Diplomatic Officer Karen Hughes stood at the front of the room. She was good at talking to different species and making them understand each other. Welcome, friends, she said clearly. Today we start planning how to free everyone else. A tall alien with silver skin raised his hand. I am Vex of the Lumini people. We have fought the Zithari in secret for years, but we never succeeded like you humans have. Because you fought alone, Hughes said. Now we fight together. Captain Cole entered the room. The aliens all turned to look at him. Many had never seen a human before the Devastator freed them. We've learned much about the Empire, Cole said. They are strong because they keep everyone divided. But united, we can beat them. Intelligence Officer Parker showed a map of nearby space. Red dots marked slave camps and Zithari bases. Our new friends have shared locations of many targets, he said. But we need more than just information. We need ships and fighters. An alien with blue feathers spoke up. My people, the Avis, were great shipbuilders before we were enslaved. We can help repair the ships you captured. Chief Hayes nodded eagerly. And we can teach you about our weapons. Simple bullets and shells. They go right through Zithari shields. More aliens offered help. The Lumini knew secret ways through Empire space. The Avis could make ships faster and stronger. Others knew where to find weapons and supplies the Empire had stolen from their people. This is more than a rebellion now, First Officer Martinez said. This is becoming an alliance. Hughes moved between the groups, helping them make plans together. She was surprised how quickly they learned to work with each other. The Empire thought different species couldn't work together, she said to Cole. That was their biggest mistake. Suddenly, Lieutenant Foster's voice came over the speakers. Captain, we're picking up distress calls. Lots of them. Cole rushed to the bridge, followed by many of the aliens. The tactical screen showed dozens of red dots moving across space. The Empire is attacking civilian areas, Foster reported. They're punishing anyone they think might help us. A deep voice growled. They attack our families. It was Gruk, a huge alien with rock-like skin. We must stop them. And we will, Cole said firmly. But not just the Devastator this time. He turned to the aliens. Who's ready to fight with us? Hands, claws, and tentacles raised all around the bridge. The freed slaves were tired of running and hiding. Over the next few days, the Devastator's crew taught their new allies how to fight. Hayes showed them how to make simple but effective weapons. Wilson trained gunners to use human-style weapons. Stevens taught boarding tactics to alien warriors. They practiced with ships they had captured from the Empire. The aliens learned quickly. Soon, they could hit targets with railguns and avoid energy weapons just like humans. The Empire thinks all other species are primitive, Hughes said as she watched the training. But look how fast they learn. They just needed a chance. A week later, the first joint attack began. The Devastator led a fleet of 10 ships, each crewed by mixed teams of aliens and humans. They struck 3 Empire bases at once. The Zithari were completely surprised. They expected to fight one human ship, not a whole fleet using human tactics. The bases fell quickly, and more slaves were freed. Message intercepted, Parker reported after the battle. The Empire is calling emergency meetings. They're afraid. They never expected their slaves to unite like this. Cole looked proudly at his new allies working on the bridge. Vex handled sensors like he'd been born to it. Gruk's strong arms worked the engine controls perfectly. The Avis navigator flew the ship better than many humans could. Send a message to the Empire, Cole ordered. Tell them, your slaves are now your equals. The Alliance is born. Surrender or face us all. As the message went out, more ships joined their fleet. The nightmare for the Empire was no longer just one human ship. Now it was an army of determined fighters, human and alien together, all using humanity's surprising tactics. The galaxy's greatest slave empire was about to learn an important lesson about unity. Red lights flashed across the U.S. Devastator's bridge. Warning sirens filled the air. On the main screen, hundreds of purple dots appeared, each one a Zithari warship. Empire fleet detected, Steve Miller shouted from his radar station. Over 300 ships, the biggest fleet ever seen. Captain Cole stood calmly. Around him, human crew members worked beside their new alien allies. They're finally making their big move, he said. How many ships do we have? First Officer Martinez checked her screen. 42 ships in our fleet, sir, all using human weapons and tactics. The Empire's fleet came closer. Their ships filled the view screens like an endless wall of purple light. A message boomed through all channels in the harsh voice of the Empire's Grand Admiral. Attention human demons and slave traders. You face the full might of the Zithari Empire. Surrender now or be destroyed. Security Chief Daniel Martinez suddenly burst onto the bridge. Captain, we have a problem. Someone sabotaged our main guns. Cole's eyes narrowed. How? Spies, Daniel reported. They snuck aboard during our last rescue mission. They're trying to disable us before the battle. Find them, Cole ordered. Then he turned to Chief Hayes. How long to fix the guns? 2 hours, maybe 3, Hayes said. We'll have to fight without them. Cole nodded and pressed the fleet communication button. Alliance ships, this is Captain Cole. The Empire thinks numbers will win this fight. Let's show them how wrong they are. Remember your training. The Alliance fleet spread out in a new formation that the humans had taught them. The Empire ships charged forward, firing their purple energy beams. They still think their electromagnetic pulses will work, Lieutenant Wilson said with a smile. They never learn. The Alliance ships dodged the purple beams easily. They had practiced this many times. Small ships slipped between the big Empire warships, firing simple metal bullets that cut through shields and engines. Enemy ships breaking formation, Foster reported. They don't know how to fight small, fast targets. But the Empire had a surprise too. Strange devices appeared on their ships. New weapon detected, Parker shouted. They're trying to copy our railguns. The Empire ships fired their new weapons, but the copies were poor and clumsy. Most shots missed completely. They stole the design but don't understand how it works, Hayes said, shaking his head. Classic Empire thinking. Suddenly, all power on the Devastator went out. Emergency lights came on as backup systems started. The spies reached engineering. Daniel reported over emergency radio. They're trying to shut down the whole ship. Cole grabbed the radio. All crews, remember your drills. Manual controls only. The crew switched to backup systems they had practiced using. The Devastator's alien allies helped, their different abilities making up for the lost power. Gruk's strong arms turned cranks that usually ran on electricity. Vex's sensitive hands adjusted manual targeting systems. Spies caught. Daniel's voice came back. Engineering is secure. Hayes' voice followed. Main power returning in 5 minutes. The battle raged around them. Alliance ships fought like Earth fighter planes from old wars, diving and turning in ways the Empire never expected. More Empire ships fell every minute. They're pulling back. Foster called out. The Empire fleet is retreating. Not yet, Cole said firmly. Wilson, tell all ships to target their command ship. The Empire needs to learn a lesson today. The Alliance ships turned as one. They fired together, hundreds of simple metal shells striking the Empire's giant command ship. Its shields flashed and died. Its weapons went dark. The great purple ship drifted dead in space. When main power returned, Cole sent a message to the damaged command ship. Your fleet is broken. Your weapons have failed. Surrender now. The reply came quickly. The Empire fleet surrendered. In just one battle, the Alliance had destroyed or captured over 200 Empire ships. Later, Cole met with his officers and alien allies. The Empire's best fleet, defeated, Martinez said proudly. And we found all their spies. More importantly, Hughes added, we proved the Alliance works. Different species fighting together, each helping the others. Cole looked at the battle reports. The Empire had lost more ships today than in the last 100 years. Send word to all Alliance ships, he ordered. The Empire's nightmare is almost over. Freedom is winning. The message spread quickly. Across the galaxy, slaves and rebels celebrated. The Empire's greatest fleet had failed. The next battle would be for their homeworld itself. The Zithari homeworld glowed purple in the darkness of space. Around it, massive defense stations and thousands of warships stood guard. This was the heart of the Empire, the place where slavery began. The U.S. Devastator led the largest fleet ever seen in the galaxy. 500 ships flew in perfect formation, crewed by humans and former slaves working together. Their hulls were marked with both human and alien writing. Freedom Fleet. Captain Cole stood on his bridge, looking at the enemy defenses. Next to him, aliens who had once been slaves now wore Alliance uniforms. Enemy fleet holding position, reported Vex from the sensor station. They're waiting for us. Let them wait, Cole said. He pressed the fleet-wide communication button. Alliance ships, this is Captain Cole. 3 months ago, we were one ship against an empire. Now look at us. He paused, letting everyone see the massive fleet on their screens. The Empire enslaved you because they thought different species couldn't work together. Today we prove them wrong forever. Lieutenant Foster spoke up. Sir, incoming transmission from the Empire's High Command. The main screen showed a Zithari leader, his purple skin pale with fear. This is your final warning, human. Our home defenses are 10 times stronger than anything you faced. Leave now or be destroyed. Cole smiled. You still don't understand. We're not here to destroy. We're here to free everyone, including your own people. He turned to Intelligence Officer Parker. Send the signal. Parker pressed a button. Suddenly, half of the Empire's defense stations went dark. Their weapons powered down. What? The Zithari leader gasped. How? We had help, Cole explained. From your own people. Not everyone in the Empire supports slavery. They've been waiting for a chance to change things. More defense stations shut down. Then Empire ships began turning their weapons away. Multiple ships changing sides. Martinez reported excitedly. They're lowering their shields. The Zithari leader's face showed pure shock. Impossible. No slave species could cause this. That's your mistake, Hughes said, stepping forward. We're not slave species. We're your equals. Many of your own people understand this now. Over the next hour, more Empire ships joined the Alliance fleet. The ones that still fought were quickly disabled by human tactics and weapons. Finally, the Devastator landed at the Empire's capital city. Cole led a mixed group of humans and aliens to the Empire's grand meeting hall. The hall was huge, with thousands of seats for representatives from all species. The Empire's rulers sat on tall purple thrones, but they weren't so proud now. Their own people had helped defeat them. Your empire of slavery is over, Cole announced. But your people don't have to suffer. Join the Alliance as equals, and we can all build something better. Security Chief Daniel brought forward a group of Zitheri who had helped the Alliance. They spoke to their leaders about friendship and cooperation with other species. Dr. Amy Cooper, who had treated both humans and aliens on the Devastator, showed how different species could help each other grow stronger. The Empire's rulers had no choice. Their own people wanted change. They signed the peace treaty, ending 1,000 years of slavery. Later, Cole stood with his crew and alien friends on the Devastator's bridge, watching ships from all species fly peacefully around the Zitheri homeworld. Hard to believe it all started with one lost battleship, Martine said. Not just a battleship, Hughes corrected. It was human ideas that really changed things. Working together, treating everyone as equals, finding simple solutions to big problems. Zixtel, who had been one of their first allies, nodded. You humans showed us we could fight back. But more importantly, you showed us how to work together. The nightmare is over, Vex added. For everyone. Cole looked at his mixed crew, humans and aliens working side by side. No, he said, this isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning. The galaxy is changing, and we'll all change with it. Together. As the sun rose over the Zitheri homeworld, ships of all species flew together in formation. The U.S. Devastator led them, not as a weapon of war now, but as a symbol of unity. The Empire's nightmare had become the galaxy's brightest dream, a future where all species worked together as equals. And it all began when one human battleship arrived in the wrong place at exactly the right time.